You probably came into this video thinking, no, not everyone loves Three Houses. In fact, I don't love it at all. And you're probably right about to go write a comment to tell me that. And you know what? Power to you. But I'm willing to bet you that at some point, at some time, you loved something about Fire Emblem Three Houses. So let me tell you about a few of those times where you probably, as I did, were on the love train for Three Houses. So much, and in addition to that, what contributed towards its meteoric rise in the Fire Emblem landscape, both among hardcore fans and casual fans alike. The setting of Fire Emblem Three Houses is different to any other game in the series. It takes place in an environment that is honestly far more relatable to the average human specimen. We all go to school, we all have classmates. We don't necessarily like those classmates, and we don't have to. But at some point in our school life, we found ourselves gravitating towards a certain group of people that we identify with, and we end up calling these people friends. Unless you have an issue with commitment in which you call them acquaintances that you tolerate. You live out the rest of the years, or sometimes even decades with these people, forming bonds that grow stronger over time, partaking in activities together, dining together, and even helping each other out with the menial day-to-day tasks. You go through the motions of life together. And that's exactly what Fire Emblem Three Houses does. What little agency you have in normal life as it pertains to the circumstances that are thrust upon you, Fire Emblem Three Houses lets you make a choice. In this game, your decisions actually matter, and you get to live out your days in this life simulator as you see fit. You can even do it solo if you want to. Immediately as you start the game, you're put in a situation where you're defending the leaders of these three groups of students. After that, you're made a teacher at this very school that you will be spending most of your time at. You're then unleashed to roam the school, get to know all these students before you're allowed to make the most important choice in this game. Which group do you belong to? It's not about who's right or wrong, at least not yet. It's not about who you want to fight with. It's not about dashing into war with the most capable army. It is very simply and at its core about the vibes. Who do you want to dine with, have tea with, go to the sauna with, or simply talk to in your day-to-day life? The choice is yours, and in this case, it matters oh so very much. And this extends even deeper because within these groups of students, they took care to really insert characters from all walks of life. The pretty, popular girl who's probably captain of the cheerleading squad. The simple-minded jock who loves to eat. The bookworm nerd who's really nice. The shy girl who has no self-confidence but is such a beautiful soul on the inside once you get to know her. The tomboy country gal who's probably really good at softball, and the list goes on and on. That is the true genius of Fire Emblem Three Houses. They found a way to truly make you relate on a level that's deeper than most of us could have ever imagined from a Fire Emblem game. And that is powerful. And not only that, they also took it a step further and eventually let you choose which one of these relatable souls you want to take your bond even further with and marry at the end of the game. These groups of students will be your squad through this school simulator that pretends to be a war game. You'll fight with them, train with them, mold them however you see fit because the game just continues to give you the freedom of choice to shape your gameplay however you see fit. You want that shy girl to turn into a kickboxing brawler? Well, you can go ahead and make that happen because you're the teacher and they're the students. But they're not just cardboard cutouts. These students have opinions, and they will make them heard as they will interject in between chapters and fights to comment their opinions on what's going on. And for those who really want to get into it, you can run around the school to talk to them for even more exposition. Like I said earlier, over time, they'll develop bonds, both with you and each other, and I think this is where the narrative genius of this game truly ends up shining. The support conversations between them goes deeper than anything I've ever seen in this series before, talking about a character's past, fears, concerns, motivations, ambitions, philosophy, and of course, even love. My favorite support to this day has to be that between Ferdinand and Dorothea because in every part it takes a step further into a philosophical unraveling that can only be seen as a dance between lovers. and their pairing ends up feeling so naturally right. The writing here was impeccable, to say the least, and while not all conversations are made equal, they certainly gave us more than enough material to sink our teeth into and feel truly satisfied. You can't help but watch these students develop over time and maybe even shed a tear as a proud teacher, but also as a person who deep down in your heart simply just understands. I know I just made a video about how we need controversy and that what truly drove Three Houses' popularity was the main narrative between the factions and people's attachments to them. But I wanted to go a layer deeper and touch on the reason they fight so fiercely for their chosen side. It's because these students are their children. And like a mother protecting her young, especially after spending over 60 hours with them in your first playthrough of the game, you can't help but feel a strong sense of attachment to these fictional characters. You didn't just fight with them like any other Fire Emblem game, you lived with them. For however much time you spent at Garreg Mach each day, you removed yourself from reality and inserted yourself into Fodlan. And that very feeling is magical. The characters and their personalities were real, and the voices given to them performed brilliantly to bring these characters to life. Fodlan was our own isekai, and we loved it. I'm spending a lot of time talking about only a fraction of the world in which Three Houses was built on, because, to be honest, this is the part that is truly captivating. I suppose the right word for this is immersion. When one plays Three Houses for the first time, I suppose you feel truly immersed in this world, and that's why you love it. It becomes almost intoxicating, as if you're skipping through the motions of real life just to end the day at work and dive right back into Fodlan with the friends you've been making, the friends that you've chosen. But you see, like I just said, the immersion that this world provides is only a fraction of it. Because if we rewind, if we divine pulse all the way back to the beginning, even to before the release, there was the hype of it all. Three Houses had initially been revealed in an early 2017 Fire Emblem Direct, almost 10 years ago now, as a working title with no true real news until about a year and a half later. But the marketing cycle kicked off pretty soon, and with it was something we'd never seen before. Voice actors, and very popular ones, had come out all in very loud support of Three Houses online, everywhere. They drummed up hype for this game through memes and interviews, and it created quite a nice buzz. Which, the early buzz for Fire Emblem Three Houses was great. I remember digging through the website with the translated profiles of every unit and trying to guess what they'd be like in terms of their personality, and people were already picking favorites even well before launch. The marketing storm before Fire Emblem Three Houses' release was one for the ages, and if there was ever a reason to truly love Fire Emblem, that was certainly it. I called it a renaissance period in my last video, and I stand by that. We were all making videos left, right, and center, be it theories, which house should you choose. Heck, I even made a waifu and husbando tier list for the fun of it. I mean, it was a wild time. We didn't even know what the game was going to be at the time, but we were having fun, and I'm sure you, watching the video right now, yes, you, must have loved that period of Three Houses. Even a little bit, surely. Still no? I feel like you have to be lying to me, but sure. You know what? I'm gonna keep trying. Three Houses did a phenomenal job with its marketing, its world building, its characters, as we've talked about already. But one point we never touched on is its narrative. While many will say the narrative was messy and incomplete, which I agree with to a certain extent, I won't shy away from that, but you can still love something despite the imperfections, can't you? Isn't that what all men tell their wives to make them swoon or something? Or is it that they see an imperfect person perfectly? I don't even know. Regardless, if you take it at surface level, it ends up being a battle of ideologies, none of which are 100% right, but none of which are 100% wrong either. Ideology is a spectrum, and we, as the player and the teacher, have chosen which one of those ideologies to side with. It doesn't mean we believe it, and of course we have to experience the others, but it did generate some damn good discussion online as to who was right, who was wrong, and what the ideal path forward would have been. Some people stood with Edelgard, a woman who went through a lot in her childhood seeking to stamp out social status in the form of crests from the structure of society. Others stood with Dimitri, a valiant prince dealing with a dark past who loses himself in the conflict while he attempts to do what he feels is morally right. And the last of them stood with Claude, who seems to have similar ideas to those of Edelgard, but is less aggressive about it and tried to go through it in more of a political fashion. But no matter who you stood with, you had an ideology that you could rally behind and contribute your voice to the online discussion, and an alive community is personally one that I love very much, and I'm sure I'm not the only one there. The gameplay in Fire Emblem Three Houses brought with it more of the same turn-based strategy RPG flair that we know and love. Of course, as with every Fire Emblem game, it brings with it its own unique twist, and this one brought battalions? Not a terrible idea, but it just added yet another action to the already crowded action economy of a game with normal attacks and combat arts that it sometimes felt like it fell to the wayside. Those who got good at recognizing when to use them could really turn the tides of battle, though, and that was fun. Finding yourself in a tough spot and battalioning your way out of it was always a good time. It's like a trump card. We also got big multi-HP bar monsters, which I thought was a great idea that was further expanded on by Engage. It made these big monsters far more menacing and threatening, which is a feature that Fire Emblem enemies generally don't have. But outside of that, Three Houses broke the mold wide open for the level of customization possible in a Fire Emblem game. It let your units be whoever you wanted them to be, and however you envisioned them to be, which leads to both some impressive feats, but also a lot of hilarity. Of course, it's not without its drawback, and you lose some unit identity, but hey, if we're looking back on the level of characterization we talked about previously, this strengthens your attachment with your units even further, leading to that ever so important gameplay story integration with your role as the teacher. So yeah, Three Houses did a lot of things right, and it is a genuinely great game that I think sometimes gets left out to dry because of the level of toxicity that online discussions can descend to. But if you can put that aside and look at it for what it truly is, we really did get something special with this game that brought in a lot of fantastic elements that I think should become a staple in the series going forward. But, as usual, let me know what you guys think as we all reminisce about the good days and fun times of Fire Emblem Three Houses, and I'll see you all in another video very soon. I'm trying to make a pushback towards being consistent here on YouTube, so any likes, comments, and hypes will go a long way towards helping that. And of course, subscribe if you're not. And until next time, peace.